Hey everybody, and welcome to a brief history on the tenor guitar. As you can see, my favourite instrument that I own, favourite sounding instrument that I own, and everything else in between. Please enjoy this wonderful brief bit of history on the tenor guitar, and I will see you on the other side. See you in a minute. Bye!
The tenor guitar is a smaller relative of the steel string acoustic guitar, but instead of 6 strings, it only has 4. The first mention or design of the tenor guitar came when in 1924 Gibson built the tenor lute TL4, which had a lute-like pear-shaped body, 4 strings and a tenor banjo neck. It is possible that similar instruments were made by other makers such as Lyon and Healy and banjo makers such as Bacon. From 1927 onwards, the very first true wood-bodied acoustic tenor guitars appeared as production instruments made by both Gibson and Martin. Tenor guitars were manufactured continuously by both Gibson and Martin from the 1920s until the 1970s. National, formed by the Duperra brothers, also made significant numbers of resonator and tenor and plectrum guitars between the 1920s and 1940s. Dobro, another company associated with the Duperra brothers, as well as National, also built various resonator tenor guitar models. In the mid-1950s, electric solid-bodied tenor guitar models began to appear from companies such as Gibson, Gretsch, Guild and Epiphone. These were mostly produced as one-off custom instruments, but for a short time in 1955, Gretsch manufactured the only production electric solid-bodied tenor guitar, the Gretsch 6127 Duojet. Tenor guitars are normally tuned in fifths, usually C, G, D, A, similar to the tenor banjo, mandolin or viola. Although other tunings are common, so I've made a diagram with different tunings and string gauges to take a look, and if you have a tenor guitar, maybe you'd like to try out for yourself the different tunings that you can have with your own tenor guitar. For me, the tenor guitar makes for a wonderful and great unique instrument, and for me, it is the best instrument I have in my own personal collection. However, even though this is a brief introduction into the history of the tenor guitar, feel free to do your own research and carry on the legacy of this wonderful and great instrument.
Wow, so hopefully you really like that and it inspired you if you're a fellow musician such as myself. Can I say that? So what can I say about tenor guitar? So for me, I've had this one for about 10 years. It's in England there was only 2 makes at the time who did tenor guitars. One of them was Martin, and the other one was the one that I own, which is an Ozark one, as you can see. Ozark! And there it goes. See in the middle? It's an electro tenor, electroacoustic tenor guitar, socket in the back. And, sorry for the Union Jack strap, just needed a strap, it was the cheapest one, there you go. And I was inspired to get this for a guy called Seth Lakeman, spelled S-E-T-H, Lakeman, and he's probably one of the greatest modern day folk artists that you can come across. And I was inspired by him a lot growing up, and my dad got me into him because he'd used to play his first official album that came out, really, because before that I think it was Punch Bowl, which was like the sort of debut album, but it wasn't, you know. And he launched his actual first official album, and my dad had got it because it was nominated for the Mercury Prize Award, and he kept sort of playing it, and I just eventually gave in and really liked it. And it wasn't that I didn't like it at the time, it was just that, as you can tell, I'm quite alternative, and I was sort of listening still listening to my metal music, still going through that phase at the time, and yeah, just kind of a little break from the norm, really. And I really loved it. And the first thing was when I was watching him play, so I basically sort of went to so many shows of his, I think we're in double figures, watching him play. And he was playing a tenor guitar, and I didn't even know what that was, never heard of one. And obviously asked my parents kindly. I said, "Oh, please, can you get me one?" And they were like, "Yeah, sure." And then that was it. And then ever since then, I've had an amazing relationship with this wonderful instrument, and it's put me in good stead. It's helped me write a few songs. And but the tuning that I use is this. So it's a C. Oh, there we go. Spit out. C, G, D, A. Sounds like that. And in the link below, there's going to be a couple of tracks of me playing this. One where the capo fell off, which I'm going to talk to you about in a minute. And a full song, which was done a long time ago. A very long time ago. Check the amazing hairstyle that I had. But yeah, check down there below. And also, Seth Lakeman kindly said hello to my mum once on my YouTube channel, my videos, and that was an amazing honour, and I still hope that someday I get to sort of support him or play with him or whatever. It's always been a dream of mine to sort of have that opportunity with him. But yeah, he got me onto playing this, and he really converted me over to listening to more folk music, because at the time I like all different genres of music. Alternative music is my favourite, and trip hop music as well. People like Massive Attack, DJ Shadow, along with Metallica, Pearl Jam. It's just a really eclectic mix that I have of alternative music and then trip hop, which is kind of trip hop's alternative hip hop. I like those two genres. They're like my favourite. Mostly alternative music, obviously, and then folk music, but certain types of folk music. So it really made me become quite picky about folk music and the artists that I liked. And it wasn't to say that all folk music was bad. It wasn't at all. It was just that there were certain artists that I really gravitated to. Like Kate Rusby, Cara Dillon, Faustus, Bellowhead, Three Daft Monkeys. Yeah, The Levellers, obviously, because I love The Levellers. I should have worn my Levellers t-shirt, actually. Shout out to those guys. And it was really weird, actually, because I knew I loved the Levellers before I'd sort of really realised that Levellers were folk music, and they kind of are. They're kind of in the middle. If you don't know who the Levellers are, check them out as well, because they're just incredible artists, and they're not too far away on the border of Kent, down in Sussex. Anyway, enough of that. So the tenor guitar, back to that. It just means it's an integral instrument, and it's something that's very flexible and versatile, and it just sounds incredible to me personally. I've never changed the tuning on this one. I've always kept it to the C, G, D, A one. Keep checking it's in tune. I don't want anybody on YouTube going, "Oh, it's out of tune." But the one thing that I learned about the tenor guitar, or my specific tenor guitar, is that the action, it's a nice-ish action. It's not going to probably be of the, like, you know, it's a good action, but I like my action really low on my guitar. And if you don't know what that means, it means basically the gap between the strings to the frets. And sometimes you'll have like an action that's a little bit bigger, which means you have to push down a little bit harder, or you have it a little bit softer and you don't have to push down as much. And because even though I was in a lot of metal bands and alternative bands, I was never really a speedy player. But having a low action for me helped me a lot, because it formed my sort of basis of being a technical player. And then obviously by doing this, picking up lots of different folk instruments, it really gave me an appreciation and a dexterity of musicianship that I'd never had before. So I want to talk about capos now, before I sort of get into everything properly. So what I found was, on my guitar, and it might be different for a lot of people, the traditional capo that I always use, and I've got about 4 or 5 of these, because as you can tell, I'm a very serious musician. You'll find that out later in the midweek videos. Yeah, that's a traditional capo. So the idea is it clamps on like that, and then you're properly sitting. Because my action on this tenor guitar is quite springy, and it's quite resilient. It's quite strong. I mean, it's quite a sort of meaty action. It's like you really have to, once you press down, you've got to keep it down. You know, you've got to really really tension your fingers down on it. I found that the cheapest capo you can get, which is this, works really, really well. And you'll see in my link below on when my capo fell off that I was using a different capo, and it just popped like that. And I was like, okay, right, lesson learned, we've got to do that. And then, so I used one of these, and then all of a sudden, by doing that, simply lock it in. There we go. It just changed everything about what I was doing. So you got like... And already you can see that, I mean, I've not plugged that in, and it's got lovely sound to it. And yeah, and all I needed to do was just really change it on the capo, and all of a sudden you've got, you know, a totally different sound to it. I realised also that with tenor guitars, my style isn't about sort of chordal shapes. You know, it's not necessarily about like, you know... It's not really about that, like, you know... I use that sometimes in a few songs, but really for me, it was about trying to sort of incorporate a really sort of folky element to it. So for me, it was about utilising the sort of sound of the tuning and sort of incorporating something a little bit more sort of riffy to incorporate from what I've taken from my alternative side of things. So you got it really wasn't about sort of doing chordal shapes as much. There are a couple of tunes that I've written that have had chordal shapes in them, but really it was about those sort of rhythmical sort of like riffs, and that's kind of what I was using it for. And it really benefited because you can have like quite a good sort of texture to it, and then, like I said, by adding the capo on and then having that, it kind of really worked to sort of create dynamics of like really nice, beautiful layered sounds that normally you wouldn't necessarily get. Mistakes, of course, as well. But yeah, that's what I love the tenor guitar. And the only difficulty that we were finding, and I say we, was my dad was helping me out with this as well, was that it was trying to sort of find, to actually get the strings. So for me personally, you can, let me just show you. So you can buy individual packets of tenor guitar strings, such as the Dario ones. But what we found was that you can, or you're better off sometimes, just using individual gauges. Now these are rotor sound ones, which would normally be for acoustic. And we picked out individual gauges for those. So you've got 26s, 38s, 26s again, etc, etc. And we just sort of picked out those and really just sort of experimented with them. So normally for me, my standard gauge for my strings, and if you're not familiar with gauges, it means the type of thickness that you have per string. So for me, I need to write this one down because I always forget it. So apologise. 39W on the top one for the C, and then for the G, I normally use a 27W. Always forget this. And then I've got 14 on the D, and then I've got a 10 on the A. Normally, sometimes I like to mix it up a little bit because I just want to sort of see what tonality it brings to the guitar itself. And it always just makes me surprised that I've never wanted to ever change the tuning on this. And yeah, with a lot of other instruments that I own, which you'll find out in later videos, I find actually that it's better sometimes to like change the tuning. But for me, a tenor guitar, there's nothing quite like it. And even though I've sort of demonstrated a lot of similar chordal patterns, just by adding a capo on can really help with that. And the other thing with this is that even though, like I said, I have to push down a little bit harder, and then like, you know, even that, incorporating those top notes for the open and then just having a little bit of melody underneath. And it's just so basic, because the good thing is it can let your right hand, this guitar's very good at letting, or the instrument itself's very good at letting you have a right hand rhythmical side. And I think that's the beautiful thing about this guitar, is you don't necessarily have to be technically minded, you just have to be really good at having a good rhythm. Normally, when I was trying to sort of like play to sort of like get the audience going, I figured out that actually, sorry, chair's going. The wonders of recording. What I used to find was actually I just would literally scratch on this. What most guitarists will do, and then scratch and then to get a rhythm, and then you just kind of blow. You just sort of experiment, and that was kind of how I did it. You know, and then just... it just kind of like really helped. And then you could, you know, just basically sort of let it loose. And even to this day, when I'm writing on the tenor guitar, I do a lot of that normally. I just sort of like go, just let that right hand go and then just add in it. And so you kind of just go from there. And yeah, there you go. The tenor guitar, everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Please feel free to like, share, subscribe. You know the routine. I know this isn't your typical Phoenix history thing, but come on. If you didn't know by now, I was a musician. And if you didn't, hi, I was a musician. And this is my favourite instrument. This is called the tenor guitar. And that's how I do things. Hopefully I've given you a lot of information, not bored you too much to death. See that? Oh, sitting down. There we go. Chin on. And you enjoy it. And if you own a guitar or any other instrument, maybe you want to purchase one of these sometime and just sort of experiment with it and just sort of see where it takes you. Like I said, feel free to pause behind to check out some different tunings on the tenor guitar. And just have fun with it. That's the most important thing. I love mine to bits. This is my Ozark, as I said. There you go, final look at it. Oh, it's so shiny. There you go. And yeah, I do apologise for the quality of the musicianship on it. I was just sort of like literally trying to demonstrate. And yeah, there we go. But if you want to actually see me play it properly, feel free to go down and check out the links below, where I do a song about the Aldington Gang, which is a wonderful folk little story, and then one where I screw up the Aldington Gang folk story. And then if there's any other tracks of me playing the tenor guitar, I'll try and find them and put them up for you, so you can look and check them out, me playing this wonderful instrument. And yeah, we'll go from there. Thank you as always for watching, and I will see you on the other side. Take care everybody, and bye for now. Bye for